Hey guys, Russell Linville here. This is part of the Become a Better Human project. Today's a Move Better Monday. We're talking about getting overhead. For your workouts, overhead movement prep, shoulder movement prep. So a couple things I like to do before I work out and before I get my guys to work out is try to do a spot check on my shoulders of where do I feel tight, where do I feel tension. And I'm going to show you a few simple drills. You can do a self-assessment on yourself and see where you might be limited in range of motion, and then some interventions to fix that or prep you before you do your overhead barbell work or throwing or whatever you do overhead. So the first thing that I try to assess is are my lats feeling tight? That seems to be a common area where we're having issues on getting overhead. If you have tight lats, when you go reach overhead, you might not get this full range of motion. We're looking for this full shoulder flexion overhead. And so when your lats are tight, they pull you down into this position. So one of the ways I assess that is I have you laid down to your back here. You're going to start with your legs extended, and then you're just going to simply reach your arm overhead. Right? Most people, they can get their arm overhead and they can touch their hand to the ground. For me, like I said, generally a little tight in this area. If you notice my hand's not touching the ground, that's where I like to rest. My left side, I can touch the ground easily. So the way that I assess if this is truly my lat that's the issue, or is it more my shoulder joint, or is it my pec? If I flex my knees up or flex my spine, that will put the lat on the proximal end of the lat on stress, or it will take the stress out of the lat, and it will allow my hand to hit the floor. So if we watch here, I flex up, and now my arm automatically hits the floor. When I go to an extension again, it wants to pop back up. So that would tell me, before I do any overhead work, that I need to work on my lat flexibility. I also like to look at how my cross body movement works as well. And I like to tease out true shoulder motion instead of scapular thoracic motion. So what I do is I get up against the wall, I put my upper arm against the wall like this, I grab behind my elbow, and I try to pull my arm as far away from the wall as I can. This will block my shoulder blade from coming forward. If one day I come in and I can only get an inch or two off the wall, then I know I need to spend some time working on some cross body stretching to stretch out the posterior part of my shoulder. Okay? So a couple interventions I want to go over with you guys to clear some of this motion up. The first one, if we think about the lats, if we go back down to the ground here, we're going to do what people typically call a child's pose position. And child's pose is just you're sitting onto your heels and you reach forward as far as you can. You take nice deep yoga breaths, very, very common yoga move. We're going to bias it just a little bit. So as you go forward, whatever side you're trying to stretch, you're going to reach the opposite direction. So for me, if we're stretching my right side, I'm going to walk my hands over to the left, stack my right hand on top of my left, sit back onto my heels, and then I'm going to push the right side of my body towards the side I'm trying to stretch. So it looks like this. I'm pushing over in that direction as my hands are pinned down to the ground. This gives me a nice deep stretch right in this area. Right from there, I go to the wall and I sit down all the way flat against the wall. And this will be getting overhead. Now we're going to do what's called wall angels. You sit here. If you get a view of my legs here, my legs are straight and my feet are pointed straight up. If you have trouble sitting in this position, you can put a pillow or roll up some towels or get a little bolster, sit on that. That'll take a little tension off the back of your legs. If you do have tension there, you might have what's called adverse neural tension, and we talk about that in another one of these videos. So look up that video, adverse neural tension. We can help these guys. You're going to take your upper back against the wall, bring the back of your head to the wall, palms go forward. Your arms, you're trying to keep your hands on the wall as long as you can. You're going to reach up overhead, try to touch your fingertips at the top, and then back down. The key here is that as you lift up, you're trying not to extend through the low back. You're trying to keep your back against the wall here, your low back, and you're definitely not trying to let your sternum raise up and down. If you have trouble even getting into this position, then you might just need to keep your arms here and work on head mobility, neck mobility, and upper thoracic spine mobility there so you can maintain that position. And the last one we're going to do, we can stand up here, is we're going to do an active drill. You can do this one of two ways. One is, the way I'll show you first, which is away from the wall, and one is facing the wall. So you take a resistance band, just a standard TheraBand, a loop band. You get into a little wall squat position. I'll point that down just a little bit. My low back, again, is flat up against the wall. I'm going to push my upper back against the wall. I'm going to try to maintain our neutral spine position. So again, that sternum needs to maintain this position right here. I don't want to lift up or down. I'm going to create some tension on the band, so take my hands out to shoulder width, and then I'm going to try to reach overhead 10 times. So it looks just like this, and then straight back down. My forearms are staying vertical through this movement. And again, what I'm trying to avoid is my low back coming off the wall or my sternum raising up off the wall. Okay? You can do that same thing. You want to come right here? Against the wall, this is a little tougher. Again, you have to lock yourself into this position. You're sliding your fingers up the wall, trying to make sure that you don't arch and extend the back. From this position, you can then lift off the wall and back down. Off the wall, back down. So those are some of the simple drills I do when I'm prepping for overhead work, whether it's barbell, snatch, Olympic lifting, throwing. I always try to check in, see how I feel, and then I try to do something to fix how I feel. So if you have any questions, shoot a message in the comments. This has become a Better Human project. Thanks for tuning in.